Welcome to the Statesboro Herald's 2014 Pigskin Pick'em, brought to you by Seasons of Japan Restaurant and Dr. Troy M. Lawhorn at Statesboro Oral and Maxillofacial Surgery and Dental Implant Center.
And welcome to Week 9 of the Pigskin Pick'em. I'm your host, Josh Aubrey, being joined by the Statesboro Herald's Matt Yogas, Mike Anthony, Eddie Ledbetter leading the way. He's just getting too big for his britches. He can't join us this week. He will join us next week. He is leading 44-20 overall. Mike Anthony 39-25. I'm at 34-30, and Matt Yogas right there on the 32-32. Perfect 500 record for Matt Yogas. Yes, there you go.
Feeling good about this week. I'm in Eddie's seat. We're going to win a little.
All right, let's begin. We got the Georgia Southern Eagles coming off the bye week. This time it's to Georgia State. I tried to see if they could vote on this and say the loser has to say they're the other GSU. Not so much. 16.5-point Georgia Southern favorite. Matt Yogas, your thoughts on this game?
You know, we talked about this a little bit on the Eagles' Nest. It could go one of two ways. If Georgia Southern gets up early, forget about it. Georgia State's going to say, here we go again. They're going to fold up the tent. They're going to lose the ball game because losing's a lot easier to take when you do it on purpose. But Georgia Southern, if it's competitive in that first quarter, you know, Georgia State's been in ball games. They were in a game with Louisiana Lafayette, who just, by the way, beat Arkansas State last night or on Tuesday night. So, you know, it could go one of two ways. I'll flip a coin. I'll say I want a peaceful Twitter account this week, and I will continue to pick Georgia Southern.
All right, Mike.
I totally agree with what Matt said there. Georgia State's definitely shown some fight. They aren't the hopeless, pitiful 0-12 team from a year ago or the 1-11 team from 2 years ago or all those other sub-500 seasons, but they're still not all that good of a football team. They definitely can't stop the run. They've got injuries piling up everywhere. I think they give it their best shot, but their best shot isn't nearly good enough. Georgia Southern is up big at halftime and runs away from there.
All right, so we have either a close game or a blowout. Nobody's saying anything about Georgia State winning, so we're all safe in that regard. The last time Georgia State played a team close was the Louisiana Lafayette, and then they proceeded to get blown out the next week. I think it's going to be some of the same thing coming up this week. They played really well against South Alabama last week. I think they're going to get blown out. We don't know Eddie's pick yet, but we're going to go 3 Georgia Southerns. Oh, I can't put GSU down either, so
I don't know what you mean.
Georgia Southern, and Georgia Southern, and Eddie, we just don't know. He'll probably take Georgia State because that's where he's been rolling.
Probably got it right, whatever he's going to pick.
All right, next up, we got another Sun Belt team, the Louisiana Monroe, giving 3 points to Texas State. Matt, we're going to begin with you. Give us a little insight on how you think this one's going to turn out.
Well, these are two kind of second-tier Sun Belt teams at the moment. You know, they're still in the mix. But right now, Georgia Southern and Lafayette are the only unbeaten teams. Somebody knocks off both of those, puts these guys right back in the conversation. So this is an important game. I think they'll both be up for it. I'll give the edge to the home team. It's basically a pick-em since they get the 3 points. I'll go with Monroe. Why not?
All right, Mike.
Like their defense.
These are two teams. You mentioned the defense. These are two teams that haven't had a lot in the way of offense. Monroe, they had that win over Wake Forest at the beginning of the year. Really haven't shown a whole lot since then. Texas State was looking good. They were in it for a while with Illinois earlier this season, just barely losing there. I think they just got caught off guard by a Louisiana team that decided to play its best game when no one was expecting it. I like Texas State to bounce back and take this one.
All right. Well, 2 teams that Georgia Southern will be playing later on in the year. I'm going to go with Mike and go with Texas State. So we got 2 Texas. Oh, let's scoot this over here. Texas State. And Yogas is going with ULM and Texas State for Mike as well. All right, we got SEC here. Ole Miss, 3.5-point favorites going up against LSU. This one's at LSU, so LSU the home dog in this one. Matt Yogas, your thoughts? Mississippi teams are continuing to roll.
Yeah, I can only assume this game's going to be at night at LSU. LSU's had some kind of clunkers this year. But you got to imagine they're going to be up. I think Ole Miss is number 1 in some of the power polls. They're obviously 1 or 2 or 3, depending on who you ask. They're a good football team. They've been on the cusp. Every year we're talking about, boy, Ole Miss recruiting players good. They're going to break through. They finally did. LSU, though, I think has enough pride. I think it's going to be a 1 or 2 point game either way. So I'm going to take the home team.
All right, LSU for Yogas. Mike.
I'm a big fan of traditions and history. And normally I would say that I love LSU at night in Death Valley. However, they tried that once this year, and Mississippi State ran them right off the field. I think Mississippi does the same thing. This is an improving LSU team, but they're also young. They're young at quarterback, going up against one of the best defenses in the country at forcing turnovers. I think Ole Miss forces 3 or 4 of them. Bo Wallace does enough to get Ole Miss the win.
You got your Ole Miss red on there too,
do.
Mike. All right, I'm going to go with you. I think Ole Miss is going to keep on rolling. I keep wondering when one of these Mississippi teams is going to stub their toe. This could be that, but I'm going to go with Ole Miss. So we got 2 Ole Miss and 1 Yogus. You are going LSU, correct?
Yep, and I'm going to buck the trend this week as well, and I'm going to pick Georgia over bye.
Georgia beating by. All right.
Although the Buys are going to return the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
All right, moving on to the team that is playing this week from the state of Georgia, that being Georgia Tech. Lost 2 in a row. Things are starting to go down pretty hard for Paul Johnson after starting off so nice. I think they were 5-0 at one point. This time they're going to Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh, a 4-point favorite in this one, Yogus. What say you?
Hard to believe. Vegas obviously lost all confidence in Georgia Tech after the last 2 weeks, back-to-back losses to Duke and North Carolina. Fortunately, they're not dealing with anybody from the state of North Carolina this week. 4-point dog on the road. That's kind of tough to grasp, but they did lose Lasky. We saw him. I mean, he was the only one consistently moving the football in that game. You know, obviously they had a ton of offense in the first half, but when they needed it, he was still getting those 4 and 5 yards against Georgia Southern. Do they have that guy who's going to get those chunks of yards up the middle? I don't know. It's a question mark to me. Vegas knows something I don't. I'll take Pitt.
All right, taking Pitt.
Well, that makes me really confident in my pick. I think the only thing in Tech's way was the love fest that we showered on in the last 2 weeks. Those unanimous picks, kisses of death. That's the only thing that got in Georgia Tech's way. I like Georgia Tech in this one. Pitt hasn't seen the option yet. I know a lot of ACC teams will tell you that they've figured it out. Well, Pitt hasn't seen it nearly as much. I think Tech goes on the road, surprises them, wins outright.
All right, I think so too. I think Thomas bounces back. They scored a lot of points last week. Their defense just gave up a little too many. I think they're able to shore that up, and Georgia Tech will cover this game. So we got it once again. Yogus going outside the box here and going with Pitt. And me and Mike are going with Tech. That'll wrap up our college picks. Let's move into the high school. Statesboro High have won 2 in a row, but things get a little tougher this time around. The Gators, #1 ranked Ware County, coming to call. They got a huge line. It'd be tough. And speaking of huge lines, this one 28 points.
Yeah, and I like what I'm doing here, picking against you guys, because I need to get back in this thing somehow. I know Ware is obviously a big favorite in this ball game. Statesboro has been playing better football lately. You know, they're all of a sudden starting to think, you know, we can make the playoffs. You know, we had a bad start to the year, but this thing could still happen. So, you know, I don't think they win the game, but I think they cover the 28 because I think you're going to pick Ware.
All right, you might be wrong.
You have thunk wrong. I think that Ware is probably 5, maybe 6 touchdowns better than Statesboro High. They're #1 in the state for a reason. They beat Coffee County, who basically had their way with Statesboro. However,
Not so fast, my friend.
Ware tends to get it done with defense. They also, against some teams like Richmond Hill, like Bradwell Institute, kind of let them off easy, off the hook, pulled the starters early in the game. Statesboro's offense is going to have a ton of trouble scoring any points, but their defense has played inspired even when they've been up against it. I think Statesboro keeps it manageable. Then the second string scores a late touchdown with a backdoor cover.
Ho!
So you're going Blue Devils, you're going Blue Devils. I'm thinking I'm going with Ware County. This one's a little bit more of a rivalry, and Ware County hasn't beaten Statesboro in a while, and I think they're going to be pretty fired up coming in here to Womack Field. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they cover, but I'm going with Ware. So we got a Ware, and we got 2 Blue Devil picks. All right, Southeast Bullock, speaking of teams on a roll, undefeated in the sub-region, but it all kind of comes down to this game with Jenkins High School, which we kind of saw this one coming down the road. Jenkins and Southeast both undefeated in the sub-region. Saturday night game in Savannah. What say you, Yogus?
Chase Walker getting a taste of playing on Saturday nights. He is going to go nuts in this one, SEB, for the cover and the win.
Mike?
Chase Walker might still be tired from running for over 300 yards last week. He's just a freshman, needs some time to rest the wheels there. I think this is going to be a close one, back and forth. Unfortunately, I think SEB is going to be done in by playing some weaker teams the last couple of weeks. A turnover late seals it for Jenkins. They get a late touchdown and they cover it.
I'm going with the Jackets. I think they're going to be able to keep it within about a touchdown here. Hopefully they can win, but if not, hopefully they can cover for our thoughts. You did go with SEB, correct?
I went with Jenkins.
I'm talking to Yogus.
I did.
All right, Portal on the road at Savannah Christian. This is going to be a tough one to play there. You got Demetrius Robertson, probably the top receiver in the nation, who just got eligible. Your thoughts, Matt, on Portal traveling to Savannah Christian?
I don't think the controversy surrounding Savannah Christian is going to slow him down in this one. I think, I've been picking the Panthers lately, but I got to go with the home team.
All right, Mike.
Savannah Christian's been scoring too many points for Portal to handle back when they didn't have a passing game. Demetrius Robertson is going to look to cram about 7 games worth of stats into one. I just don't see any way Portal can score enough points to keep it close.
I got to find a way to not have to pick for or against Portal, but for this one, I got to go with the Panthers to find a way, because if not, it's going to look bad because I have a vested interest in that game. All right, let's wrap it up. Bullock Academy, 7.5-point favorites to go into Trinity. BA's been playing really well lately, and they've clinched themselves a state playoff spot. They win this, they get to host in the state. So that, for us people who have to cover them, is very important. Yogus, your thoughts on this one?
Three-headed monster, the three horsemen, the three backs over 100 yards. Get it done, BA by 10.
All right.
Yeah, this is going to be a tougher competition the last couple weeks, I think, for BA. But their offense, they're going to find a way to get it done. I think the defense steps up, gets a couple turnovers, they win this one going away.
Uh-oh, here we go. It's the three horsemen all picking BA. Uh-oh. Could be trouble. I think we got to have Eddie to help break that so that the Gators have a chance to win. All right, that's our picks. Of course, we got a final word from Eddie Ledbetter. Bow before my knowledge and humble yourself before me. Did he really say that, or is that just...
I'm 100% sure he never said it.
All right. That'll wrap it up. For Matt Yogus, Mike Anthony, and Eddie Ledbetter, I'm Josh Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. Hope to see you again next week.